Hi, everyone. Welcome to All Things Real Estate. I am your host, Ari Wintraub, and I'm really looking forward to today's interview with my guest, designer Dorothy Alon. I met Dorothy when selling my most expensive listing to date, a home that we sold off market after the first showing, which is a real testament to the quality of her work. Dorothy has a very specific business, only working mainly with a specific type of client, which I'm really looking forward to hearing all about and getting to know her some more. Before we jump in, please, I want to ask you to take a moment to follow, subscribe to the show, and when you're done listening, leave a comment, some questions or feedback would be greatly appreciated. So without further ado, Dorothy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I know you for a long time,
Yeah,
and I have to tell you something that I admire your perseverance in this business and what you're putting out there and the education work that you're doing out there for real estate and the hard working because I always see you. I always see you, if it's in emails, if it's on your Instagram, you're working. And
thank
it's
you.
so important because real estate is not is a hard work. It's and like many other professions, it's underestimated. It's underestimated because you think, oh, you're just showing the house, but no, they don't know how much work behind the scenes, the phone calls late at night. So props to you.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to hear that.
Yes.
And like any small business owner, like a designer,
Mm-hmm.
we do have to not only worry about the clients, the transactions, the bookkeeping, but also the marketing and the business
Absolutely.
development. So
A lot
we're
of
gonna,
work. It's a lot of work.
yeah, and
Yeah.
we're gonna hear a lot, and I'm excited to know how you do it. But as I mentioned at the intro, you have a very niche specific business
Hmm.
where you're mainly working with
Mainly,
what
yeah.
I understand developer clients. So tell
Mhm.
us how you got started with design and
Mhm.
how this type of business came to be.
So I've started relatively late in life, I was a late bloomer when it came to design. I started about 15 years ago, and it was happened naturally to me. I love aesthetics. I understand aesthetics. I'm very technical. So for me, when I'm looking at anything, if it's a furniture piece or if it's a house, I always think of how to do it, how you're doing it. And I have a good and keen eye to colors and how to tie things together. And I seek education in UCLA, and then after a few years, I started actually while I was like still studying the interior design program. I got opportunities with friends. So I started with friends, one, second, third, and then one of my close friends, she introduced me to young development company, and they needed a designer that will just help them move the project.
Okay.
And you know it was it was an opportunity. I took it very seriously, worked extra hours, pulled and spent a lot of time on the job site, not just at the office.
So it sounds like a bit of a project manager.
It was on the design side.
Right.
But because I'm very technical, I ask a lot of questions. So I find that I love the construction side. So it's for me, it wasn't just like, oh, what type of stone, it was more understanding how things are being done.
Okay.
And one project lead to the second, to the third, to the fourth, and then other developers started to see because the houses started to come up and sell very well. And I think with time, developers and contractors, sometimes it's the same person. Sometimes the developer is the investor. Sometimes it's a wide term. Okay, they understand the
Right.
value. They
Okay.
understand the value of someone like me.
Right. Okay, the wide term, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
And we say developer
Mm-hmm.
because there's different types. There's a
Right.
developer who's just the money person
Correct.
and they're relying very heavily on their design team and their contractor.
Contractors. Yeah.
And then you have developers that are also the builder and the
Correct.
contractor.
Correct.
Okay, so that's a very wide term,
Very wide term.
but your intro to it came from this young design team
Mm-hmm.
who brought you into this project while you were still a student at the UCLA
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
development student, this developer, and your interest in the technical side of things
Mm-hmm.
gave you a comprehension of the construction process.
Correct.
Okay, makes sense. So tell us about your office currently now. This is now 15 years on.
Yeah.
How many people? Do you have a studio?
Yes, we do. We have a studio in Encino. We started in Beverly Hills and then start to go around, and then we landed in Encino. And we have four. We've been five. We're trying to recruit another person, and we have offshore people that help us because we have a lot of projects. I mean, we are over 20 projects every year,
Wow.
and yes, it's very intensive, and we need help. So many offshore. I have like an office in Dubai, Spain. I mean, different type of people that
And are
help
they
us.
doing like the renders and some of the
Some of the
space planning?
no, none of the actual design is done offshore. It's just the working hands.
Okay.
All the design happens in Encino under my control, under my supervision, and it's just the extra hands to produce it. But it's not nobody's really designing for us. We are the one that have full control on the design from the beginning all the way to the staging process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, this leads a good transition to the next question.
Mm-hmm.
So when your office takes on a project,
Mm-hmm.
what's the process?
Okay. So it's really depend on when we got approached. Sometimes it could be as early as I get a call from the developer, listen, I just bought a land. What are we doing? So in that case, first of all, we're talking to a real estate agent. Let's talk to a real estate agent, someone that actually feel and know the ground, what should we build there?
Right.
What
How much
sales,
sell for?
how much it sells for. It's a whole, before we even touch about what type of house, what is the design, who is the buyer?
Right.
What are we building? Development is very much, it's a business. So we have to think about how we're selling it. So we're thinking together, we have a meeting, and then we're calling the real estate agent, and then we're talking, okay, who's the right architect for that? And then,
Still smart.
yeah.
Jeremy, who I know you worked
Mhm.
with a developer client who we had on the show very early
Oh,
on,
yes.
he relies very heavily on gathering data comp
Absolutely.
from
Have to.
realtors, to know.
First call is the realtor.
Great.
First call is the realtor.
I love hearing that.
Because you guys know what you're doing. You know what sells, and we build to sell.
Okay. So
So,
then when you figure out what
yeah.
you're going to build and what the price point
Mhm.
and who the buyer is,
Yes.
what's the process in terms of designing and
So selecting the architect and then having a meeting with the architect, telling them, okay, this is what we want to build. This is how I see this house. And then the architect take it and has his own interpretation, which I'm always very excited to hear. And then they sending us the first blueprints, and then we kind of put our input, send it back to them, and that's how we create. This is how you really want to do things. You don't want to call the designer where you already been in the city
Right.
after engineering. You want us early on the involved.
right.
That's
I
the
love that.
right thing to do.
I love that.
Saving a lot of money,
that-
corrections. Yeah.
That makes total sense. And it
Yeah.
seems like with developers, the architect is not the first and forefront. They're not always looking for some big name architect.
Not always.
It's more important the aesthetic and the
Aesthetics,
interior design.
designers. So it's really depend on the type of architect that they are hiring. There's so many really um, uh, smart, intelligent, creative architects out there, and we're working with many of them. But it's really depend on what package they took from them. What is that they hire them to do.
Right.
And each architect provides a certain level of information, and many of this information comes to me, and we're either going with that, or sometimes, and depend on the process, the project was, you buy it in May, but only in May of next year you're going to build it. So things change,
Right.
and my biggest thing is being flexible. Flexible meaning like, okay, we had a plan, but let's just figure out what's right now, not what was right a year ago. Sometimes things change. Sometimes and it involves so many things like economics.
Right.
percent, mortgages percentage, so many things. Like I
Yeah,
wouldn't think that it's related to design, but it is
of
because
course.
it's budget driven business.
Of course. Yeah, we're going to touch on that. So,
Yeah.
what's the next component? So, are
Okay.
you first what's the most important? Are you establishing the surface materials?
Yeah.
Is it, do you start with the countertops and the fixtures? Like, how do you
Okay.
build out the design? Is it
So again, after we gathered all the data, we know what we're doing. We are starting with inspirations. Okay, how and also I'm going to the street. I'm seeing what is that build around there. I don't want to be that pretty kid that is like in a middle of not connected. You have to be somewhat connected to the neighborhood.
yes?
Okay, and
That's so important.
it have to have some type of symbiosis
Yeah.
in the neighborhood,
Well said.
and you have to see also what is that you're seeing around you, because many times you don't have, I mean, the design come to solve a problem that you have on the property. If it's a pole, like electrical pole, or like a really bad house or like old house on the right
Right, or some nuisance in the back with like another house looking
in a
down on you.
house. So I I can't tell you how many times I flipped houses, changed windows, moved things around, um, moved things, shifted things 3 feet just so you won't see the neighbor's um, window. So many things. It's
Yeah.
very intuitive and it's very, you have to think it ahead of time. So just to answer your question of how things are, what's the process of after we gathered everything, then we're starting with the inspiration. We present it to the client. This is what I want to do. This is what I think is right to do. What is that we want to sell this house for? Okay, what is my budget to work with? And then I started to decide who is going to be my partner for this ride, because this is, you have to understand, interior designers, at least my company, we're from the beginning to the end. It's not like we are the electrician coming in, coming out.
Yeah.
And then
And I think that's
it's
how it
it
is with other developers
mhm.
who haven't hired you. They're going to bring the designer in at one specific point, choose the finished materials, and get out.
Oh, that's wrong. That's not really seeing the full picture. That really, this is not creating the person that create the narrative of this house is the designer.
Right.
Is how we see this house and who is this house for?
Right.
It's a narrative. You have to, from the beginning to the end, from the
Okay.
construction side to the
So that's
and
an
finish.
important point. You
Yeah.
establish what's good for the neighborhood. You've established the resale price. You
And who's the
build,
buyer?
right, who's the buyer. You kind
Yeah.
of build to avoid and protect any nuisances
Mm-hmm.
and for the right position orientation.
Correct.
And then you get into the fun stuff, which are the materials and the fixtures. I remember in the house that I mentioned at the
Yeah.
onset that we got to
Mhm.
work on in Brentwood. The
Very
develop
famous person bought it.
Yeah, very famous person
Yeah.
bought it, and the finishes were a step above what most developers
Yeah.
were doing in that neighborhood
Mhm.
at that time. So
Mhm.
you
And it
look,
set the tone for the next to
it's
come.
true,
I
it's true,
It set the tone because it was like nothing else. The house was loaded.
right?
And that's actually the houses that when I say loaded, it's not like loaded like, oh my God, I'm choked.
Yes,
It could be, when I say loaded, like layered with very nice, clean, classic materials. So when you're walking in, it feels like somebody already lives in this house.
yeah,
It's not like, oh, how am I finding myself? It feels like home.
yeah.
This is my main thing when I designing
How do you
houses.
do that then?
I'm very intuitive. I'm very intuitive, and I can see who's that person is going to be. It's on a different level of intuition, and who's my buyer. And I think about the person that needs to cook in this kitchen, how, even like how things are operated and functional, because
Right,
my main thing is functionality. I don't want to be in a situation. I don't want to buy a house that is like $10 million house, and then I find that, oh, I am an art collector and I don't have walls to hang my art. I'm a wine drinker and I don't have a space to put my wine.
right,
It's the analysis of who's the buyer is to the T.
right, exactly. It seems now that there's this trend for very organic,
Mm-hmm.
earthy, natural hues, a lot of browns and
Neutral.
and neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, how do you make that like pop and have excitement if we're
Yeah.
kind of veering away from the the
I know
color.
exactly what you're talking about. Talking about the Wabi-Sabi.
Yes.
Okay, so there, I have mixed feelings about it
Okay.
because I feel like the Wabi-Sabi is a very,
It's a Japanese.
it's a Japanese style that cut like fire, and I feel like people like it because it reminds them. I always hear it. I want Tulum style. Tulum. It's like when you're
Mhm.
going to um, a vacation in like a spa-like hotel. You want that feel in your own home. But the reality is that anything that is trend is defining the time that you've built this house, which I'm trying to avoid.
Mhm.
Because when I'm gonna look into those wabi-sabi houses in 10 years from now, I'm gonna know it was built in 20 between 2022 to 2025.
Right.
I don't want that.
Right.
I don't want that for my houses.
Right.
I want to have my main design aesthetic is classic, is materials that will stand time in 20 years from now. And if you want to change a counter, because now you feel like, "Well, that's a counter. It's not the entire house that sends you into one design direction." I see houses that have no tile, all plaster inside the showers. I'm like, what are you doing? I mean, what am I paying $7 million, $8 million for? Where's my tile?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to. I am not a designer that is caving trends. I will bring materials that are more relevant because but in specific spaces
Yes.
to make
And like you said, with the countertops, you can change them out.
yeah, something that is quick to change. Yeah.
When you're working with developers,
Mhm.
it's different than end users because an end user, a family or a couple that's designing their home is going to bring to the designer
Mhm.
their tastes and their preferences and their wants and needs for the home. And as a result, it's going to be an expression of them. But
Mhm.
working with a developer, there is not that specification. So how do you keep the homes looking unique?
Right. So again, every house is even if I have like two streets in Los Angeles that I have 4 and 5 houses, same street,
Right.
same street, and
This has happened?
yes,
Okay.
like real addresses.
Okay.
And the way that I first of all, they're designed in different times, okay, different architecture, and sometimes the architecture is similar. Every house is something else. I mean, I'm bringing new materials. Many times we trendset it. We bring materials from Europe that nobody else has at this point of time. Um, Excessive research, how we're making things different. It's very hard to come up every time with something new when the architecture is very similar.
Right. Right.
Example, the modern farmhouses. I've done over 100 of them.
Right.
Over 100. So how do you come up with something new?
Yeah.
And it's that's the creative process.
Right.
That's why you get hired. You hired because you bring something nice and fresh, and it could be small as like changing the ceiling plan or bringing a
Right.
new
But then at the same time, the client might have seen one of your other projects. They're
maybe
like, I want
same
that.
time.
They're like, I want that one.
Yes, but as I mentioned, when I design even spec homes, we call it spec homes. I always think about the client. I always think about who's going to buy this house. If this is a family house, or if in the Bird Streets, or in Truesdale, or that it's like a more of a bachelor pad. It's really depend. You know what the type
Got it.
of the client to buy this house.
Right.
Uh,
And you're designing
and I
for that.
design it for them. I
Got it.
design it
Makes
for them,
sense.
and it's almost always what I was because I always ask who bought this house.
Yeah.
Like they're not gonna change one thing in there,
Yeah.
and if they
Makes
do, it's
sense.
fine.
Right. So though it's not end user directing, what things will be,
I think about the end users all the
makes
time,
perfect sense. Yeah.
all the time.
Okay. I have a question because I know the market has shifted for developers. The interest rates in 2022
Um,
doubled.
right,
We have everyone telling us the material costs have skyrocketed.
skyrocketed. Yeah.
Coupling those two things
Mhm.
with the ULA tax,
Yep.
which puts a premium of 5.5%
Mhm.
for a developer reselling a home above $5 million.
Mhm.
How have you seen those challenges impact your business?
Well, it didn't impact my business, but it in terms of like having less clients. I think that we are now geared more towards. Um, spending where it needs to be spent
Okay.
more. So we shifted the let's spend everywhere
Right.
versus where it's really important.
Mm.
I think that we are because development is driven by it's a business, as I always say.
It's driven by the numbers, the bottom line.
By the numbers, yes, the house's cost went up. I mean, like there's so much that the developer can absorb, but I find it a little bit less. The impact is less on the higher numbers. So any 7 million and up, 6 million and up, it's less of an impact.
Right.
Because when you're buying $10 million house, you expect to see certain level of materials which we're not cutting.
Right.
It will be more on the well, I no longer do not because it just no people
Right.
that are doing less than 5 million are not approaching me. They
Yeah.
think that maybe I'm too expensive for them, but 5 million around the 5-6 million is where we're a little struggling
Yeah.
with the numbers.
Right.
But as we go 7 north, it's less.
Right, because the margins
The margins are greater.
are larger.
Yeah, larger.
So to that, what is the one area, let's say you're working with the $6 million or $7 million house and the developer sees that they have to
Cut.
rein in and cut the budget. What's the one area that you are least willing to compromise and let them pull from your budget?
Yeah. So lighting.
Okay.
Lighting.
Huh?
That's the first thing because a good design, a good house is a house that has light. If it's a natural light, I cannot control the sun,
Sure.
but I can control the openings.
Sure. Right.
So
And the light fixtures.
and the light fixtures
This
and
key.
and the task like the recessed lights, the amount of light that you have in the house, it's so important.
Yeah.
That the business of lighting itself changed tremendously from in the last, I would say, 3 to 4 years. My lighting plans that I provide, the RCPs, the reflective ceiling plan, changed tremendously since 5 years ago to what I provide today. But lighting is everything.
Interesting.
The next thing will be probably the kitchen, which is the heart of the house. I would not compromise.
I love that.
I think that the thing that I'm willing to compromise is all the extra details on the walls, all the claddings. That's the only thing that I'm willing to compromise. But actually, when I go into a development, I know what I need to spend. I already planned it ahead. It's almost never that we are needing to take something out.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
if
almost never.
things
I mean,
get slowed down and the budget gets tight.
so we changing little things.
Got it.
I know I control the budget in terms of I know almost every solution to every problem you're going to have. I've done tremendous amount of homes, and I know so many vendors, and I am not someone that afraid to ask questions. I will call and ask, tell me, so this is my problem. How do I
Right.
fix this? And I call 3 different electricians. I will call 3 different cabinet makers, or just to get more information to solve the problem.
I love that.
Yeah.
I do.
About teamwork, really. I'm not a solo. I need team.
Yeah, for sure. And you need good vendors.
Good vendor,
So you have,
professional.
yeah, you have alternatives when the budget's tight and you need to get another quote. Yeah, I do a bit of property management and we need to get a quote to do something, and you can get a second opinion and find a solution. It's interesting that you said about the lighting, because when I had William Hefner, one of my favorite architects, on the show, and I asked him that same question, that was his answer.
Really?
Yeah, it was lighting and then door and window openings.
Correct.
He really
So
wants quality
Yep.
in the opening and the setback in the
Wisely.
window frame. Yeah,
He knows his stuff.
he really
Yeah.
does, and clearly so do you. What is the difference between interior design and interior architecture?
Again, interior design is a very wide term. When
Right.
somebody said that I'm an interior designer, it could be that he's dealing only with decoration, but he's still a designer.
With the furnishings.
Furnishing, yeah,
Right.
furnishing, furniture, all that. So that a lot of people claim they're interior designers, and they are, but they're taking care of different aspects of the business. Some of them doing all. Our company, my company we're doing everything.
Right.
Okay. Now, when you're talking about interior architecture, it means that we work with the architect and actually shifting the walls and the volumes between the
Right.
rooms.
Or
It's
with the position of the center island
positioning,
in the kitchen.
yes, all that.
Yeah,
So
you
we're
the layout,
in
the space planning.
layout. Listen, we're not the architects. You
Sure.
have a conductor that we're very much working with. Important to work with them. It's like it's a dialogue. If it's an architect that is willing to have a dialogue, which is always a better. And I think that people and developers also like end users understand that an architect that listen and to either them or the interior designer or the team on board it is more valuable than an architect that has a stand in his ground
Okay.
in terms of like getting what they actually want, not what they think they want.
Right.
It's so much. It's such a wide term and wide um, area of expertise, and that you really have to find the person that will listen to what you need
Right.
and what that project needs.
Yeah.
Um, so interior architects would just go deeper into the floor plan. We communicate with the architect. Architects gives us back he's ultimately the person that needs to sign this, but we're giving our inputs.
Got it.
Yep.
Got it. You had mentioned a phrase to me before we got started today, which was a neat definition that you had of what an interior designer is doing.
Yeah.
Can you share that?
Yes, I think that it could be a 1 minute conversation or an hour long. I'm like me, I am to the point is to me interior design is problem solving through aesthetics. Really, that all that is. You get like a plan,
Mhm.
and then in that plan, almost it's never a never optimal plan. Okay, there's things that we cannot control like nature, terrain, different types of
Right, like
yeah,
a nuisance that's outside
you
of
can
the
control
front
that. Yep,
window.
you can
Yep.
control, and you're solving it by creating a beautiful aesthetic to hide it.
Yeah.
So, and I always say 80% of my day when we are going on job site, and sometimes it's one day, like it's 3 hour meetings, another is 3 hour meeting in the sun. It's not very glamorous, I have to say. I don't know when
Your
anytime that
shoes are getting dirty.
I dirty. We all get dirty. When I see those designers with little Birkins and walking on, I'm like, where are you going? I cannot go without Timberlands anywhere. I mean, like we're like deep in the ground, and sorry, I cut.
No, I mean that's the great definition that you shared. And it
Yeah,
reminds me of
solving
something.
solving problems. Sorry, I cut that.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about how interior designers, what you think about interior design,
Right.
what it really is.
Yeah, you're not just leafing through
No,
paint
no,
swatches
it's
and
putting like
fabric.
swatches together. That's a very small part of what we do. 80% of my day, I solve problems.
For sure. And that's why it's so important, I know, to do the site walks
Mm-hmm.
and what do they call it? Construction observation,
Yep.
where the designer is coming out to site. A very small example of this problem solving through aesthetic
Mm-hmm.
was on this renovation of this apartment. We had these,
Air,
lovely, what's that?
air ducts. It's always an issue.
Kind of, that's right. Oh my gosh. So they were,
Plumbing and air ducts are always gonna be your one
yeah,
thing you need to hide.
it's a small example, and this is a duplex property, but we're trying to make it's a nice Spanish revival, and we're trying to make it as pretty as we can.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got these really cool black square HVAC vent covers.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have this sort of cathedral ceiling, really tall, vaulted, and behind that is the dining room.
Mm-hmm.
And what's behind that, when you're in the living room looking towards the dining room, behind where this air duct is on the ceiling is the chandelier in the dining room.
Mm-hmm.
And so last week we saw that the vent opening is over like half a foot.
Mm-hmm.
And we're putting these black ones on the
So it's
white wall.
visible.
It's going to be very visible. So
The
what
focal point all of a
it's a
sudden.
focal point all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So what we came up with was painting the vent cover white, so then it would be an aesthetic choice to solve this problem.
Or make it to you could have done, sorry,
Yeah.
you could have mudded in. And a mud vent would be just seemingly going into the wall.
Oh yeah. Be
See?
amazing. Yeah.
Call me.
Yes. You don't don't offer me that.
Call me, because I will give you the solution.
Okay, I will have to restrain myself from not taking advantage
I
of
could
that.
actually see the problem that you are describing
Yes.
because I could see it because it happens all the time.
Sure. Yeah, and I called the HVAC installer. I was like, "Why is this off center?" He said I couldn't control it. It's because of the ceiling joist, the beams.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Without knowing, I know, because
yeah.
we're dealing with that all the
Right.
time. One of the biggest problems,
Uh-huh.
I say problem because, when somebody listening to us right now, what type of problems are you talking about? You have the architect, you have the designer, what type of problem? But there's so much between the architect and the end result has a lot of rough in between.
Right.
Rough is what we call plumbing, AC, fire sprinklers, um, everything that you don't see that goes inside the wall and covered with drywall.
Right.
So you don't really think about that, and but we need to think about, because now our recess light plan need to change, or we need to create soffits. We need to highlight those soffits. I mean, you don't think about when a client walks in, he cannot know the problems that we went through for him to look into a beautiful
Yeah,
space.
because designing it on a computer and getting permitted is going to be different once you're on site.
Very different. It's
Yeah.
very different. 80% of the day is solving an issue of lining up, of engineer that doesn't speak to the architect and doesn't execute his plan the way that he meant to have. And then all of a sudden, none of them are in the project anymore because they're done. They're done. Technically, they're done, but we are there to solve the problem.
So to this, like, was going to ask you what was some of the favorite projects you've done, but what are some of the favorite, if you can remember, of these aesthetic solutions that you came up with to solve a problem on a job site?
So I can only remember because it's almost on every project.
Okay.
And I've done hundreds of them. There's always something, always something. The one that I was saying, I do not agree to this. And thankfully, I am someone that is respected. And when I say, listen, I cannot sign this
Right.
because this is wrong. And I'm not saying it because of me. I'm saying it because of you. You hired me. I'm your advocate. I need to protect you from making a major mistake. That's how I'm very emotional when I'm in my business. When somebody hires me, I'm like his advocate. I'm going to do everything it takes to make this house sold for what
Right.
he wants.
Even though you're having to push the client
Yeah.
and fight with them.
Yeah. It's putting a stance. Eventually, I cannot. I'm like and usually it goes this way because it's like you hire a doctor, or you going to a doctor. You're gonna take what he's telling you because you don't know as much that as he, right?
Right.
So
It should be the same way with
I see it the same way.
Right.
I see it the same way.
Yeah. You hired me. I'm a
I'm
professional.
a professional. I'm a perfectionist. I will take care of you and get you to where you need to be. So the biggest thing that I changed, I'm not talking about the small things of colors and stuff like that because this is minor. I'm talking about flipping houses, meaning like even in the or already after they were in the city already or came back. I'm like, do not build this house this way. For example, this we always run a sun study on how this house is being lit, and when we see that the entire sun side is blocked with bedrooms and there's no natural light coming into your main living space, we stop.
Right. Right.
We stop. We have to figure out what we're doing here. That's not gonna. You cannot walk into a heavily shaded house. So I've done that multiple times. I'm like, stop, not happening.
Right.
Okay. Um, um. Again, ducting situation where, wow, I'm working on a project right now that
Yeah. You don't want to do soffits.
you do well, and if you absolutely have no choice and your height limit, because you're working with height limits, you can't just stretch the house and make those soffit go in. Everybody going for those high ceilings. Everybody wants the high ceiling, or with the 10 feet, the 11 feet, everybody push for that. But you have a height limit. Something got to give. It's either your second level going to give or your first level. And people think, oh, no, I have a 13 feet or 12 feet ceiling. I'm like, no, no, no.
Right.
You do not think that you have ducting. You have all the rough plumbing going to, and air ducts going to bring everything down. So sometimes when it needs, and we need to keep the some of the height in place, we working with soffits. But the soffits feels natural. They don't feel forced. They
Right.
feel right.
Right.
Um, so wow,
Yeah.
so many times that we solve problems all the time. Yeah.
What else do you think makes a developer?
Mm-hmm.
You work with many of them.
Yep. Many.
You've seen them take some hits,
Mm-hmm.
and you've seen some get repeated home runs.
Mm-hmm.
What is the difference between the successful developers
Mm-hmm.
and the not so successful ones?
You know what? Also, the successful developers had to go through years of not being successful. And it's not like a one night situation. They're the one that realize that clarity on what they're going to do is the most important thing, and hiring professionals. And do not cut corners on the people that you hire because you think that it's cheaper on the paper, because it's not. Eventually, when you're not hiring somebody that is up to the level of that specific house and up to the level of what you want to sell, because you have pride in this, you're creating something from nothing. So you have to have pride in what you do. So hiring professionals that's been years in the business, that maybe they might be a little bit more expensive, but they're going to save you a lot of money on change orders, or on uh, uh, issues that you're going to have down the line. Because it's a business, many of them looking at the bottom line, they don't even read what you give them. They just like look, oh, it's the X amount versus X amount. It's
Right.
not the same. Nobody's the same.
Right. You're talking about the subcontractors.
Subcontractors. And because I can tell you, I just had yesterday I had a meeting with an electrician, that you can tell that this electrician cares about what he does.
Right.
He was we typically asking to be in every we have regular job sites visits, and we are typically in the must be in all the big milestones, like electrical, plumbing,
Frame.
framing. It's in beginning, of course, ordering the windows, making sure everything is correct, and looks right. So you can tell when somebody is like, oh, the plan showing like 5 inches, but I saw that because there's a beam, because many times the plans and the beams and everything that went in framing changed things. So somebody that actually care, like, you know what, I changed it. Is that okay?
Right.
Somebody that you have a conversation with, someone that takes the time. That time need to be paid for. Okay, that took the time, met us, fixed it, and not just like, oh, just took the check, left, and let his workers do the job and do their own
I've
interpretation.
heard this.
It's all the time.
I've heard this comment about how important that is.
So important to hire professionals that cares about your business and cared
Opposed
about
to taking the liberty.
yeah,
and
do
making
whatever. Oh,
decisions.
sorry, it's on the paper. Or you know what? They don't even cross-check. The professional one cross-check. The electricians, yesterday again, that electrician worked with my cabinet plan. They understand there's a cabinet in here. They understand what's going on in this house. Take the time to study what is this house going to be. And it makes a whole difference between somebody just like
Okay.
run.
So that's one key thing.
Yeah.
Is working with the right vendors that are making the
Subcontractor.
details
Yeah.
and not to cut corners on that.
No.
But as well, the first thing you said is a successful developer
Mm-hmm.
is someone who's very clear
Clear. Mhm.
on their plan
Correct.
and decisive in the execution. And these are the ones that you see are successful
Yes.
because they're not getting caught up and slow down
Mm-hmm.
timeline-wise with carrying costs,
Mm-hmm. Correct.
which could kill them and all the profits.
That's where that's where all the money goes, to the carrying costs, where it's someone that really don't know what he's doing, and kind of, I see them like, move this light in here without like clear direction where things need to be? What is this light
Or how long
for?
that is gonna take to make that change on something bigger.
Yep.
And most of the developers are working with, hard money, high interest rate loans.
Yes. Yes.
And, every couple months of delay or design change
Hmm.
or mistake
Mistakes. Yes.
is really gonna cost.
And they also have change orders that they need to suffer if they're not if they don't have a clarity and a design plan in plan.
Although the
Place.
change order, sometimes it's the decision, this is a change order we need.
Yeah.
This is worthwhile.
Mhm.
We're adding skylights, we're doing something here, we're going to do some sliders.
That's in the early stage, which
Right.
is this is a good thing to
Yeah.
have if it's in the early stage. But if it's in the last stage where you already have drywall in or your finishes in, and then you need to move something that's way more expensive, that's the money that you needed to save when you hire somebody that gives you a clear direction of what this house is going to be. And the professional and the successful ones, the one that you mentioned, the successful ones are the one that move fast. And it's not because they're cutting corners, it's because everything is laid down. They hired the right people in the right time. So when we start a development that we are hired typically 6 months to 8 months before,
Right.
um, we are ready to go. We have our cabinets, we have our lighting plan, so it's easy to bid. You can take it to different places and bid the same layout, cabinets, whatever we gave you with different. So you have the numbers are in place,
Right.
your vendors are in place. You're not starting to call people while you're in framing.
Right.
That's how you do it. And I see developers that building same house in 18 months, and I see the same developer building the house as short as 10 months.
Yeah. I mean, the
That's
one that we sold in Brentwood, he built that extremely quickly.
Yep.
And it was finished, and people were shocked.
Yes, the same developer built a different house in Santa Monica, which I got on 19th Street. I got a lot.
North of Montana.
Yes. We built it in under 10 months with a basement,
Yes.
which basement alone takes about 4 months. This is the guy that understand the value of time. And there are a few of them. Not all of them are like
Right.
that, because the same thing take 2 years somewhere else.
And realizing they've hired a designer,
Mhm.
let them make the decisions. He's going to focus on hiring the crew and
Correct.
maintaining the
Correct.
the,
He's not
the subcon-
occupied with that side of business because I'm thinking about how much work I need to do in this. How in the world he can do that as good as I do, go and take care of the financial side of it, go and do other developments. You can't just do one development. You usually do 3, 4, 5 development every year.
Yeah.
So
It's about, like what they say,
sense.
staying in your lane.
Stay in your lane.
Or there's other expression. It's a great book called Who Not How. It's not figuring out how to do something. It's knowing who should do it.
Yep.
And then letting them do it.
Delegating is one of the biggest things in this business, but you can't just delegate to anyone. You need to have a trusting relationship with every person that is on your team. And it takes time to build that team that you trust and know that they're going to take care of you.
So let's talk about your team. You're not a
No,
one-woman show.
impossible.
You now have, you said, a staff of 5 or so.
Mhm.
Who would you hire, and what would you say? Because there's a lot of people that want to work in interior design. It's a very desirable,
Yeah.
and what people
What people think that it is.
Right.
Yeah.
But let's say someone's coming out of the UCLA program or
Any other
yeah,
program.
and they want to work in interior design. Who are you wanting to hire, and what do they need?
So the most important thing is the drive and the desire to learn. Because I can tell you that really in school, they teach you theoretical design. And you really want to find, even, as someone that's coming out of school, you think, I'll take anything. Do not take anything. Because all the interior design firms, not all the interior design firms are the same. Some of them will hire you just to do samples and run between different projects and just do very basic stuff. You kind of want to find an interior design that does everything like we do, that you have an array of expertise, and you learn the business, not just what that person wants you to learn.
Right. Which
Learn the
yeah.
business.
Right. So
To grow.
maybe that's being at a smaller office where you're going to get,
Sure is the way to go.
yeah, opposed to a huge firm. Let's say like you're doing, massive couple, like a few dozen people.
Yeah.
You're going to be doing one thing only.
You do not want to do that. You kind of want to be exposed to as much as information as possible. You want to run a project from the beginning to the end, because that's the only way that you can. Obviously, when an intern or you're a junior designer, you have to have a close um, guide, guide guidance in everything you do, because this is a very expensive business, and every dimension line that you're putting on the plan is going to be executed by somebody that cares or don't care.
Right. Yeah.
So it means a lot. Everything we do has a lot of impact of how things are going to interpret in 6 months, in a year from now.
Yeah.
And I suggest people that are, or like young students or whomever just coming into interior design, first of all, lower your expectations with what you think this business is. It's very difficult.
Right. It's
very
not the
difficult.
handbags and the
Oh,
nice
it's not.
outfits.
It's a very small part of it.
Okay.
We have that as well, but it's a very small part of it. The real business is extremely stressful because you have a lot of, in every given time, I have over like $250 million over my shoulder, sometimes more.
And they want immediate answers.
They want immediate
They're on the site with the contractor.
now, it's like, I'm like, what? Do you need oxygen? Am I in the operating room? What do you need now?
Right.
But honestly, that's the situation. Sometimes you're in framing, something happened, they need you, and you're in a different type of meeting, and you see like 100 messages, and,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everybody's trying to reach you. So you have to be built for that.
Right.
The wide back, especially if you want to be a business owner, you need to be prepared for a lot of stress and sense of responsibility.
Right. But
Maybe I'm more stressed because I have a sense of responsibility to everything that I do.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that you have a commitment. You
Commitment,
want your
committed.
clients to succeed.
Indeed,
It's not just a paycheck.
yeah, absolutely.
It reads. And it's very interesting, the parallels between, what I do as a small business operator, as a realtor selling homes. I mentioned the parallel earlier, but the same. If someone's new in the business, they're better off coming to an office where they're going to get exposure to everything.
Everything, yes.
The contracts, the negotiation,
Mm-hmm.
the aesthetic, and the photography,
Everything.
staging appointments, the showings, the prospecting. So someone would be very smart to come into the business and get that kind of exposure. I know you told me that you just got back from a big trip to Europe where you were sourcing new materials, and that's a great thing to talk about. Like, what are you seeing that's going to be infused into your projects? What are you excited about material wise, and what was this trip like? You went to Spain and Italy.
Yeah, I started with so the purpose of this trip, and I traveled quite a bit. It's either I travel to shows, to trade shows. I travel to China, Spain, Italy. I go wherever the job needed me, and what and to explore. I'm trying to explore as much as new materials, new technologies. I'm very much obsessed with technologies because the market change all the time, the finishes change all the time, and it gives me great flexibility in what I do. So the last trip that I went to source for 2 houses that I'm working on. One of them is in Truesdale, and one of them is in Beverly Hills, and actually one that is coming on that we're gonna start working on in Bel Air. And
Great
yeah,
neighborhoods.
great neighborhoods, and also those are the neighborhoods that expecting to see the latest.
Right.
And so I went there, selected beautiful materials, worked with the cabinet maker, um, absorbed new designs, I register everything, everything. Europe for me is like I feel like a home,
Right, kid in a
especially
candy
Italy.
store.
Yes, I'm like everything from antiquities of the culture and the furniture and the buildings to modern, new, clean, minimalist. All of that is
That's
part of
great.
what I absorb.
That's great. That's great. Are you working on any houses in the Palisades, maybe?
Not yet.
Okay.
I've got approach. There's a bit of a process going on there. I've got approach multiple times, but right now we're pretty much full capacity.
Okay.
I think that as things will start moving over there, we are going to probably help and try to say yes.
Right.
But right now we have plenty of other projects that we are working
Yeah, it's
on.
still new. People are just picking up lots and
Yeah.
starting to design and such. Okay, well, as we look to wind things down, I always like to ask guests the same questions.
Hmm.
And the first one is going to be, what, looking back 10 years ago, would you maybe have done different in your business?
For me, it's almost like it was a process. It was me because I'm a person that need immediate satisfaction.
Okay.
And this is the only business and the only thing in my life that I said I'm going to take my time learning this business from the bottom. So it was very special for me because I've never interned anywhere. I started with helping with colors, to design furniture, to go to surfaces, to design kitchens. I built myself from the ground, layer by layer. I didn't try to do anything that I don't know. I ask a million questions. I I don't know that I would do anything else differently except charging for more.
That's a great answer.
Charging way more because I'm always so invested in all my projects. Charging way more back then. But it's almost like I took it as my school, the real school of the business. And like, this is going to be, I'm going to get as much project as I can to become the best that I can.
Right. And you weren't
It
saying no.
proves it right. But
Right. You weren't saying no to a certain budget on a certain job
not in the beginning.
in the
Not
beginning.
in the
Yeah, like
beginning. I
this.
felt like I'm sponsoring those projects in the beginning.
Yeah, I don't know if
Yeah.
I told you this, but I recently, a couple months ago, sold a condo
Mhm.
in Brentwood
Mhm.
on Darlington. And my client was one of your first
Oh,
clients
I
when you
know.
bought it. And he recently bought a home in Brentwood,
I know which
but
project.
you wouldn't do the home because now you're at the point where
No, I mean,
it's
oh my God, I love, you know what? So many of them are like that. When I started like 10 years ago, we bought the first condo.
yeah.
And I have many repeated. Almost all the clients the young guys that were buying their houses, their condos, called me after and some of them I did. He specifically, I loved him.
Yeah, it's a great thing.
It's just that he didn't have the budget for interior design and the interior designer. It's not that I wouldn't do it. I would do it, but it had to be in the right amount of
Right.
to
Yeah,
appreciate
and
my
that
time.
speaks to what we talked about earlier
Yeah, great point.
about yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And their house turned out great,
Mhm.
and I know they worked with a designer.
Mhm.
Um, that speaks to this idea about building a specific business, right?
Mhm.
You have this business that now caters to a certain price point
Mhm.
and a certain type of developer client and is very niche.
Mhm.
And it's very admirable because
Mhm.
realtors, we are supposed to be striving to be very specific and clear with the type of client. And I've never been successful
Mhm.
at that. I still service
Mhm.
all price points
Mhm.
all over the city. And I
Mhm.
know to be successful at that, you have to be able to say no
Mhm.
to certain clients, which you clearly, as an example with this particular person,
Mhm.
have been able to do.
Mhm.
And so, congrats on that.
Thank
And that's, what we say in real estate sales, when you're very successful, you can say no to certain clients. So going on to the next question is, where do you want to be in 3 years from now?
you. probably doing the same thing. Same is like being in this business.
Yeah.
I I say no because I want to go back for a minute for what you just say. If I say no, it's because the timeline doesn't work or the price for the because I have a certain amount of hour in the day, and I have
How many hours are you working a day?
could be from 8 to 12
Sure.
because I start very early in the morning because I'm trying to catch up on what I I work a lot of hours. And the only reason why I say there's two no's that I would say. One, someone that is not understanding the value of an interior designer. So because my rates are not taking from nowhere. I'm like they're compensating for the time and more just the time, the professional and the mistake that I would save you going forward. It's
Right.
not just the people.
Because of the mistakes in the training that you had from the 12 years before.
I mean, it's not just that, I think that the end users or even the developer, they don't understand that interior design is not just the finishes. There's so much behind it. That's what costs you money, not the finishes. It's like, when you're going to a hillside development and they have like $1 million in caissons, okay? They don't see the caissons. They just see, what type of marble you put there. That's how they value the house. They don't see what's underneath.
I know, that's why
They don't understand why it's so
we're
expensive.
showing these houses, the developers, the agents will always tell me, "They spent 16 caissons." They always gotta tell us
Yeah,
this.
because that's where the money goes.
Yeah.
And and that's where the value of the architect and the interior design goes, not just the finishes, because there's a lot of talented interior designers, a lot of them. But the interior designer that also will be able to answer your construction and give you like solid answers and help you prevent those because it happens all the time. It's not like I'm not that unique in like it has a lot of there's the backstory. People are focused on what they see, not what's behind it, and that's where a lot of the business is. But the no's, okay.
Okay.
So the no will be for someone that doesn't understand the value of the interior designer in this, or someone that is incredibly hard to work with.
Sure.
Meaning that they hire you to be there, but they want to tell you what to do. That type of person, I don't want to work
Sure.
with because interior design have to come from joy,
Right.
not from stress.
Yes.
The intuition of doing something right comes from the right thing to do with the right energy. And if someone trying to
Constantly.
constantly tell you what they think it should, I'm not for them.
Yeah.
And actually, no designer should be in a situation where someone is being told what to do. You hired us because you trust us. If you don't trust us, don't hire us.
Right. Yeah.
Very simple.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. I love it. And when I think about, my business in 3 years from now, I mean, that would be a great goal is to be able to, work with this, specific, type of client and know when things aren't necessarily right fit or the things that bring me joy.
hmm The type of client that, more than anything, this real estate and interior design is a referral business. I don't advertise I do the minimum in Instagram and someone else is doing it because I'm not wired to do that. I stick to what I know and it's being professional and care about what I do.
Right.
I leave the young people dealing with all the marketing side of the business. And the referrals the constant referrals of are a are a huge thank you for what you did for me. Okay. It's or for you. So having a streamline of work is to me is more valuable than that one person that I sold for 20 million and then it's once a year.
Right.
And also especially in development, you don't know who who that developer and what's his capabilities. You might sell a $3 million house, and in 2 years from now, a year from now, he's going to go into to a big project with other investors that are now 8 million, and they're going to remember you because you were the one that took care of them and throughout the entire transaction. So for me, it's a referral business, and there's not just one big $100 million. There are not that many. To me, a streamline of business referrals or developers are coming back again and again, and we're working from the $4 million to the $6 million to the 10 to the 15. That's how we grow. You grow with your clients.
Yeah.
There's no small clients. There's the clients that don't appreciate and value your input and your hard work into it. These are the clients that you don't want anyway. And
Got it.
the one that you that the one that are that value you and your professionalism and what you gave them will stay loyal to
You
you.
can grow with them as a team.
That's how happened. That's what happened to me.
Yeah.
We from 2 million to 4 to 5 to 6 to 15 to 30 32 to
Right.
it's like it's growing because that those people will keep on hiring
Of
you.
course, and they want to, as they should, because they've already got a good, successful.
It's a relationship. We cannot do anything by ourselves.
I love it.
It's all about the relationship and people trusting you as a person, because and how do they trust you? Providing them with the right service, be there when time gets tough, and times get tough. Sometimes things happen, during construction, and do above and beyond for them, and for them to understand that you want that as bad
Right.
as they want it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so 2 more questions. Favorite book, movie, or song?
So I'm a documentary.
Okay.
I think I saw every documentary that Netflix has to offer. Songs, not one particular. Beatles, Elvis.
You like the classics.
Classics.
Okay.
Always classics. 70s, 80s, my era. And books of haven't read for a long time. It's like it seems like
No one is.
I mean, if I have a little bit of time, I just want to be quiet
Yeah.
in a quiet zone. But yeah, I mean,
Great. No, cool. And what's it all for? So you got this great big, you know, business that you're very passionate
very.
and you are committed to. Why? What are you doing it all?
So, you know, I am motivated by creativity. It could be anything, really. But I found myself in interior design because it combined both great strength of mine, which is aesthetic. Actually, more than one. Like it's the aesthetic side of things. It's the common sense of how things should be.
Mhm.
Is the functional side of things. Is the ability to understand construction and how things are being made. And I found myself. I'm very comfortable in that.
Right.
Very comfortable. I can do other things, but I choose to do this. And growing this and because it's an everlasting growing business, and every time every time I turn my head, there's something new. There's new plugs, there's new mud-ins, electrical fixtures. There's so many things, I mean, that are all the time getting sorry.
Yeah.
Again.
That amazing.
The the innovation in
Right.
this process
Uh,
is all the time is happening all the time.
And it grabs you. It
It
keeps
grabs
you
you.
focused.
It's
And
focused. It keeps you on your toes. There's nothing that is done the same every year. There's every show you go like, oh my God, I can't. You're thinking that they can invent new things, but they do.
yeah,
You know?
that's the joy of working in an entrepreneurial role, and
Mm-hmm.
real estate
Mm-hmm.
is very much entrepreneurial, and that's an answer that many of the guests have had answered that I've asked. Why are they doing this?
Mm-hmm. It's passion. It's
It,
true passion.
it's not working to be able to do a vacation,
Mhm.
or to have a ski home. They're doing it.
Money that moves.
They're doing it to stay in the business
Mhm.
that they love,
Mhm.
and it's so clear your passion
Mm-hmm.
and your commitment to serving the clients, getting the best execution.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned a ton
Mm-hmm.
in this interview, and I'm so excited that we got to do it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
for sure, Dorothy.